Hello there, my name is Logan, but you can call me Copycat99. And today I thought I'd do a quick and dirty look at what cards I want to see reprinted come post-rotation. With rotation looming, with the law release, I think this is a topic that should be discussed a bit more in the community. And, it's kind of topical to Christmas. This will come out probably the week of Christmas. It's kind of a wish list for the types of things that I want FFG to keep in the game come rotation. So first off, I thought I'd explain what rotation is for those of you that don't know. Covering it up a little bit. There we go. So starting with A Lawless Time, every fourth set release will make the three oldest sets currently no longer legal in the Premier format. So, for example, when Law releases, Spark of Rebellion, Shadows of the Galaxy, and Twilight of the Republic will no longer be legal in the Premier format. Similarly, Jump to Lightspeed, Legends of Force, and Secrets of Power will become illegal as soon as the set after Homeworlds releases. So this kind of cycle repeatedly removes sets from the format. This forces variety into the format by removing dominant cards from the card pool. You can't play your set 1 Luke Skywalkers forever. The one caveat is cards can be reprinted in future sets to remain legal in the current Premier format if the developers feel that type of effect is needed. And that is the whole reason we are here today, is I wanted to discuss some of my choices for cards that I feel that FFG should reprint in the coming sets to keep in the Premier format. I decided to choose 3 cards from each aspect from the first 3 sets. So there is 1 blue villain card, 1 blue hero card, 1 neutral blue card. And I did that for all 4 of the aspects. So for Vigilance, my choices were Inferno 4, Conquer Dawn Interceptors, and Takedown. Inferno 4 is a really nice space unit that gives you some filtering, which I feel like is a very important effect for these blue villainy decks. And it's a unit, so it encourages actually playing units if you're forced to play a unit to get this filtering effect. So it's just a really nice effect for blue villainy to have access to. And I think blue villainy's other space units are not very great. Like, Inferno 4 is still one of the best space units blue villainy has access to. And I think it's, good enough to keep in the format post-rotation. Conquer Dawn Interceptors is just a very, very efficient anti-space answer. And I'm kind of worried about space aggro post-rotation. Like, pilot leaders, a lot of the best upgrade hate's going to be gone. Some of the go-wide removal, like Bombing Run's going to be gone. So I think having some answers to these swarmy space decks in the format will be pretty important. And Conquer Dawn is still one of the best ones they've printed. It's just, it's essentially a 3-cost 3/4 Sentinel, which is great. All the other space Sentinels are kind of meh. This one has just always been a staple in Blue Hero. And I think it's really well balanced, too, because it's a purely defensive card. If you it only deals 1 damage. If your opponent isn't playing space, it's got a risk, so it's got some risk to putting it in your deck. It clogs up your hand sometimes if your opponent's not playing into space. It doesn't deal a lot of pressure. So I think it's a very well-balanced answer, and it's a very important answer to have some efficient space answers like this in the format. So I really like Conquer Dawn as a reprint. And then third, we've got Takedown. I feel like some of the removal should definitely survive rotation. I feel like Takedown is one of the most fair ones. Forecast for 5 or less. This almost never trades up. There are very few 5-drops that are seeing play that have 5 health. So it often just trades 1 for 1 with a 4-drop. Sure, it can kill leaders, and maybe they're trying to lean away from removal being able to kill leaders. But, you usually have to put some work in to kill a leader, and I think there should be some risk to flipping your 4-apply leader into 4 open resources. That shouldn't be a play line that is just totally free. You definitely should have some punish for that, I think. And yeah, it's just premium blue removal, and a lot of the blue removal is rotating out, and I agree with some of it being too powerful, but I think Takedown is a very well-balanced and a very fair version of the blue removal that should still remain post-rotation. Next up for command cards, Green Villain, I just chose Seasoned Shore Trooper. It took me a while. I looked at all the cards and I was like, there's really nothing too exciting. I ended up on Seasoned Shore Trooper because, one, there weren't many other good options, but 2, it represents what Green Villain wants to be doing. Green Villain wants to stabilize the game in the mid game and get to these higher resource counts. And once you do reach these higher resource counts, Seasoned Shore Trooper is a 2-cost 4/3, which is great. And it's an emergency turn 1 play. The art's amazing. Similarly, like if Death Trooper wasn't already reprinted, I would have been hounding for a Death Trooper reprint because that art's amazing. But yeah, it just seemed to embody a lot of what the command villainy wants to do as a color. And that's another thing I tried to prioritize with these picks, is I tried to pick cards that were kind of core to a color's identity. Like blue really likes the filtering, the slow sentinels that don't attack for a lot, the decent removal if you meet the right conditions. Green loves to ramp, get to these higher resource counts, and then overwhelm your opponent with big units. And Seasoned Shore Trooper is a good aspect of that. For Green Hero, I chose Spark of Hope. Spark of Hope is a just really fair version of Resupply. Like I think Resupply is a bit pushed when it also ups the tempo because it pushes you towards your leader deploy. Like that was a bit much for the first couple sets. But I think more conditional forms of ramp are something that should exist in the game. You know, we've already got Resupply Carrier, which is a late game space unit. We've got Chancellor of Valorum, who is a double grain that has to attack. I think Spark of Hope is a very fair version of Resupply. It's not always the easiest to be able to just kill your own unit. Like sometimes the board state is not good for that, or sometimes your opponent lane dodges. So it's a much more fair form of ramp that allows counterplay on both sides of the table, which I think is a much better direction to push forwards for ramp in the future. And then for green here, or neutral green, I chose Reinforcement Walker. Reinforcement Walker is just like such a great top end piece for green. Like it draws cards or heals and is on a pretty large body for 8. Like it's exactly what these green decks want to stabilize against aggro, to have card advantage against slower decks. Like it just does everything you want out of a top end ramp finisher. And I find it really hard for them to one up this card. And you know, it's seen Fringe on and off play, so I think it's a reasonable choice for a reprint. Again, it's like the epitome of what command wants to do. It wants to hit these high resource counts, and then it just does everything you want out of a late game bomb. Even more if you can give it ambush, which is going to become a lot harder post-rotation with no timely intervention. But it's an amazing ramp finisher. And I think that kind of card definitely needs to exist post-rotation. This is just one of the better ones that happens to be at low rares. Another thing I forgot to mention is aside from I might talk about double aspect legendaries here in a second, I chose commons and uncommon cards only because I feel like the FFG is going to be very hesitant to reprint rares and legendaries outside of a dedicated reprint set. Like we'll see what icons ends up being. So I definitely limited my scope to commons and uncommons. We could just slide into the average set and get reprinted as part of that draft environment. Next up, we've got aggression cards. I chose Ruthless Raider for red villain. Very similar to Reinforcement Walker. It's just a great top end piece for red villain decks. Like it helps you control the board. It helps you burn your opponent. It's a large space unit. It dodges a lot of conventional removal. No glory will still be legal post-rotation, so it's not as menacing. Like blue villain has that really punishing answer to it still, which is a nice check on it in the format. You know, it's one of Piet's better cards, and I think Piet will really shine post-rotation. I can see the argument either way of taking this toy away from Piet, because he'll keep Invisible Hand, he'll keep some other ships. But at the same time, like, maybe throw Piet a bone. Like, Piet will have the same problems Piet's always had, so maybe him keeping Ruthless Raider isn't the end of the world. Yeah, it's just a great top-end piece for red villain that helps it. It both controls the board and deals damage to your opponent, which feels more like red villain. Red villain's not like a straight rush your face, kill you as fast as possible aggro, at least traditionally, like Sabine was doing. It's more like Dedra, where it's like, I'm more of this slower aggro that controls your board a little bit and puts you in tough spots through my efficient cards. And Ruthless Raider is a very good example of that, and I could totally see it getting reprinted to keep that as an option for these red villain decks. Red Hero was another one that I was like, it was kind of just good turn 1 plays. Like, the reason I ended up on Sabine was because first off, A Lawless Time is a set with triple aspect cards. You know, you get a blue-green hero unit. And that turns on Sabine immediately, which is a really neat interaction that I think would be cool to keep in the Premier format. And I have a feeling there's going to be a decent Spectre sub-theme in A Lawless Time, and Sabine is one of the better Spectre units, so I could totally see her getting reprinted. Now, that is why I chose her over Turn 1 Place. Like, this could be Green Squadron A-Wing, this could be Spec Force Soldier, you know, there's a handful of good early game red units, but Sabine has really good stats. She pops shields, and they're going to print 2/2 shielded till the end of time. Like, we saw with Secret of Sage just being a blue crafty, like Director Krennic being a blue crafty with upside. Like, they're going to print that type of effect, and having a check for that in the format I actually think is a really interesting thing that is kind of undervalued. So that's another nice reason to reprint Sabine. And, like, all in all, she's just a great 2-drop. Like, I think having great, exciting 2-drops in the game is good. Like, you should be excited to put your characters on the table, and Sabine is one of those characters. So I think she's a great reprint candidate. And then red, similar to Takedown, I chose Open Fire. It's a really, really great, well-rated kill spell. Like, again, it rarely trades up. Once you get to the 4 cost stat, you're usually playing 4 cost 4/5s or 4 cost 4/6s. Or if they're a 4/4, they've got so much upside that they probably should die to Open Fire, like K2SO, who was rotating, or this new casting unit they spoiled. Stuff like that. So I think keeping Open Fire in the format is a good idea. Like, it's just, I think there should be some removal. I feel like FFG has been a little heavy-handed with how much they're shifting away from removal. I mean, obviously we haven't seen too much of the set, so maybe I'll eat my words and they'll spoil some other removal, but a lot of the good removal is leaving, and I think we should keep some of it in the game. And Open Fire is one of my favorite candidates. That it's so fair. Like, fair removal in a mid-range centric game should be something that exists. There should be some options, and hopefully not too conditional. Like, obviously Open Fire isn't conditional, but we'll see how they take the design approach with A Lawless Time and further. But I still think Open Fire is just a great card that should totally be reprinted. And then on to Cunning. For yellow villain, I chose P38. Again, it's another really efficient answer to these weenie space decks that just want to play a ton of 1 health space units and run you over real fast. You know, Vader 4 is going to be a very good leader probably post-rotation. So similar to Conquer Dawn Interceptors, I like colors having answers to this type of thing in the format. Now, they could totally print a card very similar to P38, but P38 just does it so elegantly. When played undefeated, just shoot something for 1. It's a 3/2 space unit. You know, I think having good space units is also a very important thing that the format needs, so the arena doesn't get ignored and it's just everyone racing in ground. Add a little bit of nuance to the format. And also, Thrawn 4 is surviving over rotation. I think this is one of Thrawn 4's better tools against space. And I really like the potential of Thrawn 4, particularly in yellow, because it keeps Chimera and Legacy run. That combo is really, really strong, especially so far from what I've seen from a post-rotation environment. It should flourish, hopefully. So, as a Thrawn 4 enjoyer myself, from time to time. So I think taking away one of Thrawn 4's better space units and better tools in yellow would be kind of mean. So it's a bit of bias there, but I think there are a lot of upsides to reprinting P38, and I think it's a very good candidate for a reprint. Next up is R2-D2. Cunning Hero currently has no 2-cost 2/4s aside from R2-D2, as far as hopefully I'm not misspeaking. Oh no, they got Bale. Okay. But Bale's kind of weird. Bale, you need to be in a very specific deck that wants to discard your own cards. R2-D2 is just super generic. Like, 2-cost 2/4, some nice filtering on top. Like, I think this is totally a 2-drop that they could reprint pretty easily. It does everything you want out of a 2-drop. It's a 2-cost 2/4, which is an amazing stat line, and it has some upside occasionally. Like, that's what you're looking for in a 2-drop. And, you know, it's got great art. It's an iconic character. Very good choice for a reprint, in my opinion. And then last, we've got McClunky. This is a bit of a dark horse pick. There's some interesting stuff in mono yellow, but I chose McClunky because this is a very good example of what the Underworld Tribe wants to be doing. The Underworld Tribe wants to be playing units with 1-plate abilities, putting them back in their hand through effects like the new Jabba leader, like McClunky, and then replaying them to get the benefit again. And McClunky is just a very, very strong piece of that strategy. It's an efficient damage dealing card. It deals 3 for 1, which is, I'm pretty sure, the only card in the game that deals 3 for 1. But you have to put one of your units back in hand. Like, there's a downside. It's not free. There's a little bit of hoops for a very decent payoff, which I think is a great card. And I think Underworld is going to continue to play through this playstyle as showcased by Jabba. So I think keeping one of their tools like McClunky in the format is definitely a good, interesting option that I'm for. All right, so I didn't do a slide for them, but I thought I'd quickly go over the 4 double aspect legendaries. You know, they got either sector or regional promos. So some people have been discussing the potential for those to get reprinted. I personally am against them all getting reprinted because I feel like Vigilance is very against the design principle that they've been going for recently, that they want you to win through units. Vigilance is such an efficient build card, even out of aspect, that I doubt they'll want to keep it in its current form. Now, they could print new double aspect legendaries and maybe just remove the mill mode from Vigilance. Like, that would be fine. You could print command again, but change the non-unique restriction to non-leader. They'd have to be completely new cards. Just to be clear. You can't reprint a card and errata it. That's not what they're doing. I think that's against FFG's design goals for this game. It being a physical TCG and all that. But you could print a completely new card that is double aspect. That is a 4-cost event that has very similar modes to Vigilance and Command. The risk with that is it gives a lot of redundancy to Eternal. Like, you can now play 6 copies of Vigilance and Almost Vigilance. But I don't know. I feel like Eternal will be pretty crazy anyway, so I don't know if they're too worried about that. And they can always just ban one in Eternal if they feel that that's a concern. But that is my take on reprinting the double aspect legendaries. I think you don't reprint them completely in the same form. I think you go for some slight tweaks if you want a similar type of card in the format. All right, I think that's going to do it for this video. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out. It helps grow the channel, and it makes YouTube like me more. I think that's all I've got. I'll see you in the next video.